Hey, welcome to the RanchCast. We're live. So this is RanchCast episode 0. I'm using it to test this technology out, as well as show off some Windows Server containers. So Rancher launched Windows Server containers in a previous version back in 2.1 using the pre-GA version of Windows Server containers with Kubernetes. That has now been updated with the 2.3 preview release. So we're going to be walking through that today as well. Make sure y'all can hear me. All right, so let's go. So let's get started. If you're interested in following along today with the code base, so a couple places I'll be paying attention for questions. If you go to slack.rancher.io and join with your email address, you can join our free Slack workspace. And check out the Windows channel. So if you go to Slack, go to #Windows. We'll be there in the Windows channel. I'll be listening along with anyone out here. If you want to follow me personally, it's twitter.com/JasonVanBrackel. And if you'd like to learn more about Windows Server containers in Rancher and in Kubernetes, check out rancher.com. And if you go to blogs, you'll see our latest post on announcing the preview support with documentation, as well as a video of what I'm about to show today, just a much shorter version with some fast forwards and stuff. And without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we'll need is some nodes. I'm going to launch a Rancher node, 3 nodes for Kubernetes, and 1 Windows Worker node. So let's start there. I'm going to use Terraform. If you were interested, the code for today will be out in github.com/JasonVanBrackel/ here, you need to see that. GitHub/me/RanchCast-0. And you can go ahead and grab that, and that'll actually give you all the demo. The demo environment, like similar to what I'm going to use, and also links to documentation, both on the announcement of the previous report and configuring custom clusters for Windows. So with that, let's get started. So I'm going to open up my terminal window. I have a Terraform project ready to go with the RanchCast code in it. And I'm going to Terraform init to grab the Azure provider. Once it downloads. And then we'll Terraform, and then we'll run the bootstrap. I forgot to set up a variables file, so let's give it an administrator account. That will work. And let's give it an SSH key. So it will need that. I'm going to grab it in the terminal window. Let's go ahead and grab my public key. We're going to xclip. So we're going to cat my SSH key. Pub, and we'll clip that. My clipboard. I want to run this off just in case it echoes. And it wants to throw out the key file. So that would be, oh, it's public anyway, you could see that, but SSH/IP. And then the administrator account for Linux nodes, and the Rancher host name, and we're good to go. So let's see, no secrets there y'all can't see. So because I didn't actually create a TFRs file, it needed me to fill in a few blanks because Terraform. And we'll let that do its thing. But let's take a look at a few links while this is running. This will take a few minutes. We can take a look at this Terraform file. The Terraform file itself You'll need an Azure Service Principal. Just take your MSDN documentation on Azure Service Principles. You'll also this will create a resource group, virtual network, subnet, and the network security groups for Rancher itself, for the worker nodes, control nodes, and etcd nodes. And then it will also create a Windows worker node. And that's all this does. Now, I've hard coded this to Ubuntu 16.04 for all of my Linux nodes and for my Rancher machine. And then for Windows, you're always going to need Windows Server 1809. That's what's supported by Kubernetes 114 GA. Shout out to my friends on SIG Windows who had worked long and hard over several years to get this support into GA. That we're all very thankful for the hard work. So in addition to that, also do check out the blog post from Encore today. That's ranch.com/blog, as we mentioned earlier. If you want to join the Slack channel, it's slack.rancher.io. And then just go ahead and join the Windows channel. I'll be listening up there for a while. But let me actually open that up now, just in case anybody is asking me questions. Nothing so far. And also, yes, Azure though. I've got my first Twitch comment. So, thank you all for listening. Yes, those who watched my preview earlier saw my miserable failure when I actually launched the wrong version of Rancher. So that was fun. And let's see how our nodes are doing. Uh-oh. I see red. Red is never good. Oh, what is wrong? Oh, I gave it a bad admin password. That's bad. Okay. Let's give it a better admin password, shall we? And then public. Oh, it just wants to redo all of that. You know what? This is what I get for live coding. So I actually changed this whole thing around earlier to be a little bit easier to use, which just means the code you all downloaded is a little bit wrong. So let me just go. I'm going to fix this real quick. Grab the other copy, the old copy this is based off of. So I have a Terraform modules as well with the Rancher Bootstrap. And I'm just going to grab that variables file because I do know that one works with its proper demo password. Yeah, that should work just fine. So we go back in, and I apologize you aren't seeing this. I just don't want to expose any more secrets than I already have. If I, actually expose secrets. Everything here is my personal account, so you really can't do a whole lot of damage because there's no credit card connected to it. And we'll grab our TFRs. I'm in the wrong VS Code window. And then we'll do TFRs here. You see here, I'm just grabbing the example, and I'm just going to copy the example again, 4 TFRs, 1, and then of course I will copy this off screen because then it will have secrets in it, and we don't want to show those off. So grabbing this file, and I'll fix this code after the fact. I'm sure there's some other code in there that is a little bit messy and nasty because I very quickly put it together yesterday for my demo and then slimmed it down because it was from an old file. And there we go. So everything looks good there. And we're ready to relaunch with my proper service principal and all of that. So let's try this again, shall we? Clear all that off the screen. And let's bootstrap our nodes. And it shouldn't ask us for anything this time. It should have everything it needs. So far, so good. And we're creating a bunch of stuff on Azure, which is exactly what we want. Now, I did this in Azure for a couple of reasons. One, because it's a Windows demo, and why not Azure? I know some of you all prefer AWS or GCP. I was a Windows developer for 15 years, going all the way back to VB3, VB6, a whole lot of Microsoft Access, and then later .NET, and was part of the early alt.NET movement. So yeah, I've been doing this a long time. So Azure, I tend to think in Azure more than anything as far as the cloud goes, but I use them all now. So we'll let those go ahead and run. Go back to looking at this a little bit. So we talked about everything that's being created here, all of the Azure things that we need. And then that's what I also wanted to mention. I've also hard-coded 1809 with containers, which all that means is that we won't need to go ahead and install Docker after the fact. It will be installed for us. And then this this file as well, this bootstrap, we'll go through, do the Terraform, send the output to JSON, and then actually just grab some of the variables, set a service principal in case I want to use it later for automating Kubernetes in Azure, and then it goes and installs Docker on all the Linux nodes. Now, in this case, to install Docker, I'm using Rancher's install Docker script. If you'd like to get that for yourself, go ahead out to github.com/rancher/install Docker. And I'm using 1809 here. So this will actually detect your operating system and install Docker appropriately for your operating system in most cases. Or if you're in Red Hat, just RPM it or whatever you'd like to do. And also today we're not using this, so we're going to actually use a single node install of Rancher, just for space reasons. And if you want to do that yourself, go to read the docs, go to installation, single node install, and then I'm actually going to use Let's Encrypt certificates so I have properly signed certs. And you can go ahead and copy this. Make sure you change two things. You're going to change your DNS name because this isn't a proper DNS name. And you're also going to change from Rancher latest. So we're actually using a preview version of Rancher here. So go to GitHub again, Rancher, and releases. And we're going to be using this version 2.3.0 Alpha 3. So let's see how our Azure things are going. Go ahead and open the Azure portal. So I want to see if I have public IP addresses. That way, I can start connecting and getting things up and running. Go to my resource group. There's my RanchCast. And I have virtual machines. Good. So let's go ahead and out these virtual machines. And let's grab our Rancher machine. Now, I'm sure we don't have Docker running on that yet, but let's see how it's going. Oh, hey, we're installing Docker on some of these machines. The question is, which one did we do first? I do not see that. Rancher group, SSH keys, all of that fun stuff. Well, let's find out. It's easy enough to find out. So I'm going to use Ramina here. I've done this a few times, as you can tell. And I'm just going to edit all of my public IPs. It's my Rancher IP. Save that. I'm going to grab the other IPs as well while this is all up and running. etcd, control plane, Windows, and worker. That's just too bad. There are just some things about the Azure portal that are just beyond annoying, and there's one of them. So already grabbed my Rancher machine. We'll grab these one at a time. etcd. Go back into Ramina. etcd. Edit. Save. Rancher, control plane. Good. Ramina, control plane. And worker node. And next, the Windows node. So we'll go in and grab Windows. As I mentioned, this is Windows Server 2019 or Windows Semi-Annual 1809, depending on which one you grab. They're essentially the same thing for our purposes. But both will work just fine. And back into Ramina. And the nice thing about Ramina is that it will actually do copy and paste the scripts, which is important to us later. And we're going to save that. So let's see how we're doing on the terminal front. Not that terminal. Let that one up. Still doing things. Okay. Well, we'll check one. We'll check each of these one at a time. Oh, and we need to actually change the DNS entry so that I have proper DNS here. Let me grab that one more time. My Rancher machine. And off screen, I've signed into my DNS registrar for my Brackel.net account. And we're going to add a Class A record for Rancher. And that should point to that address to, yes, that's correct. And so now I have an A record for that for Rancher.fanbrackel.net. So now let's start connecting the machine, shall we? And we can see if they have Docker available. So we're connecting to the Rancher machine. Can we Docker? Oh, we can't Docker yet here. It's probably the last on the list. So we'll let that go. Let's check for questions, comments. Nothing out on Rancher Slack. Let's go ahead and check Twitch. Twitch comments. Can I show how to install Rancher OS? You know what? We'll do that. We will do that on another RanchCast. So good RanchCast idea. You can see the Terraform. You can see the Terraform code that I'm using. I'm actually not installing Rancher OS. So the question, actually, I'll go back to my main screen. Other computer, camera only. So somebody asked, can I show how to install Rancher OS? I'm actually not installing Rancher OS. I'm using Ubuntu nodes in Azure. But we'll do that at a later RanchCast. So, yeah, good call. We'll do one on K3S and K3LS as well. And let's see how that terminal is doing. Terminal. All right, we're good to go. That means all of our nodes are up and running, and they all have Docker installed, which is exactly where we want them. So let's go back into Ramina and start spinning things up that we need. So let's exit here. Oops. That's not what I wanted. I thought that was a terminal window. It was a terminal window. So back into my Rancher node and Docker GS. We'll see. Oh, good. We have Docker access. So we need a copy of Rancher. That's easy enough. We had that window up earlier. No, not that one. We want one screen. Oh, I don't think I mentioned this during my last broadcast. Later in the summer, I'll be doing a hands-on with Windows with Docker for Windows developers and also for Kubernetes for Windows developers. I mentioned this, not one because of the Philly area, but two, they also live stream. So they live stream all of their meetups. Check them out. That's philly.net. They do a lot more than just .net nowadays. But by all means, check them out. So we, going back to our Rancher docs, read the docs, installation, single node installation, and I want my Let's Encrypt certs. So we're going to grab most of that, and we're going to remove a few things because we don't need that. So we're going to paste that. Oh, thank you for helping me. Wow, that's, oh. Yeah, I can't go up. That was smart. All right. That's okay. Let's go this way. And there we go. So we don't want to run latest. We want to run this preview. So again, going to github.com /rancher/releases and grab this name here because you're going to want that. I'm going to paste that. And I'm also going to give it the domain. So let's encrypt acme domain, Brackel.net. This was my fatal flaw for any of these that were watching earlier. I grabbed 223, or no, 22, one of the 22s. It was the wrong one. It had the old, the old experimental Windows support for 1803 and 1809. But that should be running shortly in disconnect mode, and it won't take long for this to actually spin up my Rancher host. And so I will do that right now. And I'm, okay, try again. I'm on TLS. There we go. Handshake. Admin password other than 12345. And we're in now. One note for those of you who have never installed Rancher before. This URL can't change, and it has to be addressable by all of the different clusters that Rancher is going to manage. Let's go ahead and save that. So let's create a cluster now, shall we? We're going to add a cluster, and again, the Windows support is only via custom and via the experimental version of Rancher. Now we do need 1.14.1. You'll notice that also says experimental. All that means is that QA has not yet certified 1.14.1 for use in Rancher. I've not run into any problems. I've been running it now for a while without issue. I'm going to grab Flannel, turn on the Windows support, and I want to use actually packet encapsulation with VXLAN using the software overlay, not the L2 bridging. This is generally more flexible. There's some caveats around host gateway. Go ahead and read your Flannel documentation. Now, those of you who know Kubernetes would ask, hey, what about Network Policy API? Well, you don't get it yet. Now, I do know Tigera has the Windows Essentials that supposedly has a plugin with a network provider, and I believe Weave might be working on Windows support. But that's one of those things to be determined later. We'll skip the cloud provider for now. We won't create any load balance like that. We're just going to do a quick test. Oops. It does help when I give it a name, doesn't it? I think I do that on every demo. And we'll give it a Windows demo name. And scroll down and hit next. So now we have our node operating system and our various node types. You'll notice if I click Windows, I only get the worker type because there's no such thing as a Windows control plane or a Windows etcd, at least not yet. So let's go ahead and grab that one first, because why not? And I'm going to open up, go back into here, grab my Windows node, set my certificates, make this slightly larger so you all can see it. It was interesting how it had buffered into the video memory of my platform that failed miserably earlier. And instead of a bash command here, we'll send it a PowerShell command. And we'll let that go ahead and run. Now, I actually did this one first because Windows containers are bigger than Linux Docker containers. So that will do its thing, and while it's doing its thing, we're going to grab the ones for Linux, for our worker, our etcd, and our control plane. So grab our worker. Grab our etcd. And then we'll grab our control plane. Or wait a second. Did I do all those? Let's make sure I did all those. None of them have registered yet, so I can't tell. Let's see. What do I have up here? Oh, that's right. The advantage of tab clients. I can see which ones I've opened. I've opened etcd, I've opened worker, Windows Node, and Rancher. I have not opened control plane. So grab that. Once again. use that one. And as the Rancher agent spins up, it will download things required to go start Kubernetes, like the Hypercube containers. It will then start up all the various Kubernetes processes on the Windows nodes. We'll also get a kubelet and kubeproxy. And as each of these phone home to the Rancher server, I should get nodes registering. And you can see I have 3 of my 4 registering. And we'll just go ahead and done. And you can see here, we're just waiting for etcd, and we're waiting for the control plane to come up. And let's see how they're all doing, shall we? So back over to my friend Silly, Ravina. And it looks like this one has finished its job. This one has finished its job. So there are other jobs that are happening, because once that Rancher agent comes up, it does other things with other containers. And Rancher is still being Rancher. And you can see my Windows node here is already waiting. So it's done everything it needs, but it needs a Rancher cluster to attach to, or it needs a Kubernetes cluster to attach to. So it's trying to phone home to Rancher saying, hey, my cluster's not ready yet, and we'll keep doing this until the cluster's ready. So while we're waiting, let's see if we have any more questions. Nothing in the Windows channel. Let's see what's going on over on Twitch. Can you open a node tab? I've never seen a Windows node deploying. Okay, well, we're opening. We've got the Windows node over here, so we can watch that deploy. And then we can see over here, let's put this on 2 screens. And we'll grab, ooh, that's nasty. Let's go ahead and grab that node first. And nodes, you can see here the Windows node doing its thing. And so we'll watch the node deploy essentially. And so it has to pull Hypercube for the worker nodes. What's also happening here is that you see it's Rancher/Hypercube. It's still upstream 114. We just keep them in our own repo. And I think I heard Slack knocking at me. Nope, not a question. So we're now much further than I was during my earlier demo when I launched the wrong version. Let's see how everything's going. Still pulling Hypercube containers. Let that do its thing. How's the cluster doing? Going back to global. Yep. Pulling images. So we're getting close. So as I mentioned before, if you go to the docs, the easiest way to find the Windows stuff is just hit the magnifying glass and go to this custom cluster for Windows and all the documentation. And even here, we've updated documentation this morning. And I'm realizing I did embed a secret in my code, but I'll make sure to delete that account later. It won't kill me right now because, like I said, there's a limit on the amount of things I can create in my account. You can't go mining Bitcoin on me. Sorry. How are we doing over here? Over at Rancher. Good. We're pulling etcd on the etcd node. I bet we have some nodes already up and running, just waiting for etcd to be alive. But let's check on them. Let's see what's going on here. So Windows is doing exactly what we expect it to be doing. Let's go see what Rancher is doing. Docker logs. All kinds of stuff running in the background. Let's see how our worker's doing. Probably just waiting. Yeah, it's doing the same thing that Windows is doing, waiting for etcd and the control plane to come up. Ooh, I got 2. Oh, it's still doing its thing. Good. I should have etcd really, really soon. And then control plane, Docker. Let's see what we have going over here. Yes, we have all kinds of stuff that's only been for seconds. Good. Good. I bet we're going to have a healthy cluster very shortly. Yep, starting health checks on kubeproxy. That's all a really good sign. No questions out on, no questions currently out on Slack. So let's see, Slack. Let's see, does it run the same container? It's a question from Dynamite Moose. I love these names. Does it run the same container stack as the regular Linux workers? So it does run kubeproxy and kubelet. They're just Windows versions of kubelet and kubeproxy. There is a CNI plugin. Let's watch Windows starting up some more so we can maybe see some stuff as the cluster comes out. So as soon as the cluster comes up, we'll see more here. So yes, yes and no. So there are Windows versions of kubelet and kubeproxy that will spin up. There's also Windows versions of the Flannel CNI plugin that will come up as well. Let's see ingress controlling coming up. We are close. This is the issue with live streaming. It's just waiting for stuff. I thought about recording this and fast forwarding, and that's what the earlier video was for. This is actually to watch stuff running, and we can see here now the Windows node is coming up, and we can see here it's grabbing You get another container. We're going to grab the Flannel CNI container as well. And really, when we have these Rancher copies, it's just with our configuration. It's what we think is the best way to run Kubernetes in ways that we know are green paths for in standard. So now we're just extracting just like we would on a Linux machine. We're doing the same thing now on the Windows machine. And I'm not even sure what's extracting. This is one of the side effects of the Windows the Windows logout versus the Linux logout. It just looks strange. But yeah, it looks like the Docker container is just about done doing its job, which is a good thing. Let's see how Rancher is going. Oh, I had another question. So I can run this. I can run this in mixed worker node, like I can have Windows and Linux, but one control plane. Yeah. So yeah, there's a comment on Slack about having Windows and Linux mixed. So the control plane, the etcd, is always going to be Linux machines. That's it's really support only for Windows workers. So I can have Linux workers alongside Windows workers. There's a couple things you have to watch out for. So you're going to have to key off not only when you're deploying applications, you're going to have to use node affinity to target appropriate nodes. Now we've fixed that for you in the UI. But there is an annotation of the nodes. We'll take a look at that take a look at the nodes now that they're up, and we can see here that Flannel D and all the CNI and everything's coming up. And while that is doing its thing, let's take a look at these nodes because there are some idiosyncrasies about the nodes that are important. So everything's up now. Okay, almost everything's up now. There we go. All right, so my worker's taking its good old time getting up and ready. That has happened on every demo I've done with this, recently, and it just takes a little bit longer to get there than the Windows node for whatever reason. But let's take a look at this Windows node. So we can see here, Windows Server Data Center, running kubeproxy and kubelet version 1.14.1, consistent with what we installed earlier. But here's some important information. This beta Kubernetes IO OS now becomes important for targeting. So the rest of this you don't have to worry about. But yes, you do need to know what OS you're targeting for your applications because there are going to be some applications that run on Windows only and run on Linux only. That's pretty obvious. So let's actually launch something. I should have actually probably set up the cloud provider because then we could have actually done a load balancer. You know what? My script does create a service principal, so let's give it a try. Why not? Let's go back into our cluster. Let's edit our cluster definition. And let's go ahead and add the Azure information. So the Azure Cloud Provider has a whole bunch of stuff that you really don't need to touch, but only 4 things that are really important. It's their client ID, your client secret, your tenant ID, and your subscription. This can also be called an app ID, and they changed the name changes from item to item. Now I'm not going to show that on the screen because that's actually something I should not show you. But I have this, let's see, do I have my service principal here? I don't have my service principal here. I thought I put that in the output. That is too bad. So this will not show. So you're going to want the Azure CLI. So I'm going to do AZAD, p list, and I'm going to grep rancher Brackel. Actually, I can do a show. I think it's ID, but let's take a look. Show FID. Sure. Okay, Brackel. This is just what I use, what I create my service principal. There we go. So I'll have everything but the actual password, but I'll have everything else that we need here. So the app ID, that is your client ID. And these names do change from documentation to documentation. They're not at all normalized. Tenant ID, go ahead and put that in. Subscription ID. Oh, I need my current subscription. That's easy enough. AZ account show. And then this is my enterprise ID that I'm working off of right now. And then I will need to reset that key because I did not save it somewhere that I can get to. I'm doing that off screen. So I want to do an AZAD, what is that, reset credentials, I believe. You know what, I'll find it here and then I'll run it. Nope, AZD, SP, reset credential. This is what I'm going to. So, something with the Azure CLI, the Linux CLI, the Windows CLI, the Cloud CLI are all just a little bit different. And I don't have them memorized. So, I'm going to do a reset here. And I need I think I just need the ID. Credential, reset, description, oh, subscription. Oh, name, it needs name. That's what I'm looking for, name. And the name should be my http://rancher.brackel.net. And that should reset my password and give me a new password. And it did, good. So you will get an app ID, a tenant. You'll still need that subscription ID, but you'll get a brand new password. And if I go in here, my client secret, and so now let's go ahead and save that. And so what that did was that actually, no, we don't need to save that in LastPass. Thank you, LastPass. That is actually, well, it's taking a long time to come up. It will come up. I did this demo yesterday. Just to run through it a couple times, and it does eventually come up. So now we can see here the cloud config is all getting set up with the various things for authorization to make sure this is all running. So we'll wait for that to finish updating, and then we will actually be able to create a load balancer. So so for those unfamiliar, and I go to this all the time, it's concepts underlying the Cloud Control Manager. This is one of the better graphics to describe Kubernetes physically. If I do a view image on that. What I have done is I've changed the configuration for this little gray thing. That's the Cloud Connector. The Cloud Control Manager uses the Cloud Connector to, in this case, talk to Azure Cloud. So let's see how we're doing here. Starting health checks, that's all good. All my Kubernetes things are doing their health checks, which is good to know. See if there are any questions out there in Twitch land. Nope, nothing new on Twitch. Eventually I'll get the messages coming up on the screen, because we have enough real estate here to do that. So I'm still learning this format. I learned OBS, but I'm still figuring out how to make it look good. And then out in Rancher users land, nothing new there. So now we're just waiting for kubelet and all the kube API things to come back up. Oh, and just like that, the worker node came up. Interesting timing. Moving containers on hosts, worker plane starting, config maps, ingress controllers, Kubernetes cluster finished building successfully, and we are good to go. So let's give this a try. Now I've not gone this far. If you want to connect to this cluster, you can grab your kube config file here. And you'll notice here we have actually two ways we can attach to it. We can attach to it through Rancher itself, and then directly to the cluster. So all of our auth and all of our RBAC goes through here, but we have a backup just in case Rancher is down. So if Rancher goes down, you can still connect to your cluster. I'll close that. Or we could just launch kubectl in here, and we get kubectl, get nodes. We can see there are our Windows nodes. Let's describe that node. It will look very similar to what's in the UI, because our UI is just grabbing from the Kubernetes API. And you can see here, no disk pressure, no memory pressure, everything's normal. 114. We should see all kinds of annotations, and there. This is the important stuff. Both beta. So this was while it was in beta pre-GA. This is now because we have to be backwards compatible with the old stuff that we wrote back then. So let's go ahead and try to get IIS running. Because that's what's more Windows than running IIS. So we're gonna hit deploy. Now that does mean that your Helm charts, if you're gonna use Helm, they have to target the right OS. So let's do IIS, and I happen to know this one because I said Windows developer, and we have to target an OS. We say all Linux or Windows, and we'll just do a deployment of one. And we should be able to do a layer 4 load balancer. Who knows if I can figure that right. But let's try it. So we'll go 80 and 80 and launch. Now, I do know this takes a moment or two to launch. Certainly longer than an Nginx container. But we can see the container creating and the events. But remember, our IIS container is probably a Windows Server core or an Inno core, which means it's much larger than, say, an Nginx container. But we got some fun. Pod sandbox killed and a new one created. I've seen that every time. I got to do a little research there. If any of you out there are out on SIG Windows and know why I'm getting that, would love your feedback. So I'm going to actually look into that, and I may pick the SIG Windows people sometime. So if you are at all interested in joining the conversation on Kubernetes around SIG Windows, you can go out to I think it's kubernetes.kubernetes.io, sign up just like you could for Rancher, and join SIG Windows, and you can see here I'm shilling for Rancher today, unashamedly so, because I'm a big fan of the open source community and a big fan of the vendor community. We all work together to make this thing awesome. So no new questions in Slack. Let's check Twitch while this is coming up, and I see all green. All right. So yeah, so we created container IIS, and we should have an IIS container still container creating. Because Windows Server containers are just big. And if you're interested in learning more about Windows for containers architecturally, there was a great talk at DockerCon 2016. And this was on, let's see, I think that was on Channel 9. I bet that will help me find it. Yeah. As you see, I've watched this before. I talk about it all the time. DockerCon 2016, Windows Server and Docker, and this talks about the internals. If you also check, if you search me on YouTube, you'll find a number of the talks I've given on Windows Server containers over the years, because I've been talking about this stuff for a couple of years now. Like I said, Windows guy, I like this. I love this stuff. I'm really excited about the new Windows subsystem for Linux. I'm like Hanselman. I like that. I'm both a Linux and a Windows guy. I love them both. I started my career in Java Oracle and LAMP, and then went to Windows later. It was one of those graduating during the .com bust, which means you did whatever got you paid, even if it was COBOL. Done that too. And we have an IIS container. It started and running. All right. Let's exec in. Ooh, a Windows shell. I got to remember my Windows command because it's not PSEF, it's task list, I think. All right. We have a running Windows container. Not too painful, too. Let's see what kind of logs we got here. I'm just curious. All right. W3 service and service monitor started. It's exactly what I expect to see for IIS starting up. What if we can hit it? Let's see if this load balancer's done yet. So workloads, it looks like the load balancer is not done yet. Let's see what we can find out about it. Cluster, let's launch kubectl, let's get our cert. No, SV is not going to help me. I need SVC. There's my S load balancer. Pending, still pending. Hopefully it just means it's still spinning up and I didn't screw up my cloud config. So that's one thing of note. Oh, I didn't, oh yeah. So if you screw this up, you'll just get pending forever and ever and ever and ever, and it will never stop. It will just be pending. No, I need the SVC. Let's see how this is going. Ew. Creating load balancer failed. We'll retry. I bet I did something wrong with my service principal, either the scope, or something, or I mistyped in a password or something, or I just have it misconfigured. Oh yes, there was a beep. There was a beep in the room. Yeah, I have the Verizon Fios battery has lost its life, and occasionally just it'll beep on me, and I don't want to pay to have the battery changed because nothing is important enough about my Fios connection to make sure it still works. And yes, it looks like this thing is just going to be dead. That is too bad. So let's try it another way. So let's edit this, and let's edit the service. Can I stop Ranch from creating node ports for these services? Well, it didn't create a node port. It did create a cluster IP, so it does some helping under the covers. You could certainly delete it after the fact, but let's go ahead and create my node port. If I wanted to prevent it from creating node ports, I could actually restrict it from creating node ports via RBAC or pod security policy. I believe it can do that too. No, maybe not. Might be an RBAC thing. So I have my node port, but I bet that is the private IP. So we want a public IP. So let's find out who 10.0.1.6 is. And that's easy enough to find out. So we'll go back into our cluster and launch kubectl. Oh no, I have nodes. I have visual designers. Tell me what things are. So 10.0.1.6, it's my Windows node. Why don't I have a public IP for my Windows node? I should have a public IP. Interesting. We'll have to figure out why that didn't have it. So let's go find it. Actually, you know what? It'll be in Ramina, because that's how I connected to it. And we'll edit that so I can grab that IP. I have no idea if this will work. Worth a try. Because we have the node port. What is that node port? It's on 3149. Okay, let's give it a try. 3149. Let's see. Hey, we got IS. All right. So let's figure out what I do about my load balancer for my next demo. I bet I just configured it wrong, or it's got the wrong scope, or under the cover service principals use OL style scopes for for all of that, and I screwed that up somewhere. But everything else is working. You've now seen a walkthrough on Windows Server Containers. Let's see any other questions before we get out of here. Let's go ahead and go my camera only route so we can actually see that. Yep, should work unless firewalled. All right. So if there's no other questions, let me go check Slack real quick on my other screen. Nothing over Windows. So with that, we end RanchCast 0. I actually set up Twitch to save this, so I'll save it for the next 2 weeks. I'm also recording this video. It'll end up on YouTube, so links will be available on Twitter and via our Slack, probably the Windows channel and the general channel. And I guess I should probably start a RanchCast channel, so we'll do this a lot more often. So with that being said, if you'd like to join us on Slack, going back to my screen. That's again slack.rancher.io. You'll get a message from me. It is an automated message, but it's directly attached to me on Slack. I get it. It's in my history. I wrote the code that sends it, and it's really because we get enough users a day that I can't do them by hand anymore. So by all means, reach out to me on Slack, on Twitter. Again, I'm Jason Dan Brackel again on Twitter. And by all means, reach out to me. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.